Peace and blessings, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, Calling All Marriage, where we say
Let's communicate
and
and
talk
talk later.
later. Welcome back, everyone. I am so excited. It's two reasons that I ended up in Dallas. My sweetie boo, of course. Amen, my sweetie boo. And our guest here today, because I was leaving a powerful church back home and I had to make sure that I had the right covering. And Dayspring Family Church was the right covering. Matter of
Amen.
fact, I know y'all see me with a tie on, right?
All
So that
right.
just tells you how important our guests are. Bishop Dickerson and Pastor Dickerson of Dayspring Family Church in Irving, Texas. And we're about ready to have a good time where you can learn and pass it on. Amen, boo boo.
Amen.
All
Amen.
right.
Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have our Bishop Kevin Dickerson and Pastor Soyna Dickerson with us today. They have been married for a while. They are role
You said a
models.
wow.
A
That's more than a
while.
wow, boo. That's a
Tell
long
us how
time.
long you've been married.
Well, as a matter of fact, on Thursday, this coming
Thursday.
Thursday,
Okay.
we will be married 43 years.
Wow.
I know it's hard to believe the time has just really gone by quickly. But what's so beautiful about it is it's been an enjoyable, wonderful time. And I'm excited 43 years of literally married bliss.
Yes.
So I'm grateful.
43 years. Wow.
That's almost as long as I've been on earth.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Ah,
You need to do
yeah.
an altar call right now.
That's
right.
We do an
That's
altar call right,
right.
now.
Right
Those of y'all
here.
that know the words of
Amen.
prayer, we're praying for
Yeah.
Brother Fran right now.
Absolutely.
He wants to be a baby so bad.
Listen, I tell people, I'm only 44, so how did we even do that? And then I go into the whole thing about we were at daycare and it was a Tom Thumb wedding, and he just kept asking me all the things, but it's just been a beautiful time.
Yeah, we really would like to hear how you guys met.
Oh, certainly, certainly.
Well, we met at a Christian guild, what do you call it?
Cotillion
Cotillion,
rehearsal.
yes. And it's a coronation of recognition of high school and elementary school graduates.
Right.
And my youngest sister was graduating from the 8th grade, going to high school, so she's going to be part of this cotillion. And my parents said, "You're going to be the driver. You're going to drive her to all the rehearsals and make sure she gets there." I said, "Okay, cool,
wow.
cool." So at one of the rehearsals, I dropped my sister off, and before I was going to come back and pick her up, one of the organizers said, "Would you like to be part of the cotillion to be an escort?" I said, "Sure, no problem. What do I need to do?" "We'll have one of the young ladies that you'll escort." And I said, "Who? Who?" And they said,
Ooh,
"Just pick one."
pick one.
And so the next week I show up,
Uh-huh.
and I said, "Okay, who?" They said, "Well, just pick one of those ladies over there."
Right.
And I picked Sonia. And little did I know, I was actually selecting my wife.
But
All
what
right.
about the part you saw me across a crowded room?
Well,
Come on, let's add all the details. Let's go.
let's add the whole story.
Let's go.
And so I actually did see her across a crowded room.
It's a crowded room.
And just like David asked God,
Oh my goodness.
"Shall I pursue?"
What did God say?
I asked God, "Shall I pursue?" And God said, "Pursue."
Thank God.
All
And now
right.
it's 43 years later.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's how we met.
I
And-
believe he was walking while he was saying pursue.
Ah.
I should pursue. She's fine.
I'm on my way, right?
And we dated for 4 years.
did.
And then we got married.
A year and a half of that, we were
We were
engaged.
engaged. That's right.
Engaged.
And
But we were dating with purpose. We were
right,
dating looking to get married,
absolutely.
not just spending time. He fit all the items on your checklist. He was that guy. I was vetting him to see if he was marriable, and if he was marriage material, I'll say. And then I was asking others who were wise, what did they think? What qualities did they see in him?
Right.
That's where my wife must have got her list from.
And I think, in addition to what Pastor Sonia was saying, what's really a blessing about our marriage is that our parents were friends
Oh,
before
good.
Oh wow.
before we
Yes.
got married and before
Yes.
we were born.
Before we were born.
They were
Wow.
friends before we were born,
Okay.
Right.
and we lived 6 blocks from each other,
But we didn't know each
and we
other.
didn't know each other.
Right.
Okay.
But our parents were friends,
Mhm.
and before we were even born, our mothers ran into each other at the post
At the
office.
post office.
And my mother had my sister in a stroller, and Sonia's mom had her brother in a stroller.
Right.
And they said, wouldn't it be nice if the Saints' children would grow up and get married? They were speaking of my sister and her brother.
Right.
Okay.
And then weeks before we got married,
Right.
they remembered this conversation.
Because if they had remembered it before that and told us, we would have felt, arranged marriage now. But God didn't let them remember until just before the time of the wedding. And we didn't actually meet until over 30 years later.
Right.
And so it just is amazing how God will remember the desires of your heart when you
Yes.
sincerely pray. And so I'm just grateful. I'm glad they saw each other in the post office.
See, parents know what they talking about, y'all.
Listen, they do.
Speak it over your life. That is so wonderful. Peace and blessings, everyone. Once again, welcome to Calling All Marriages. You can find us on thecore2.com for any counseling that you may need, and look for us for upcoming dates for our marriage seminars. And now back to our program. One of the questions, as a man,
Hmm.
when did you know? That's my wife.
When did I know?
When did you know?
I would,
That's my wife.
I would probably say about a year after we were dating,
Mm-hmm.
where I could not imagine living life without Sonia.
Wow.
And um, and I purposed in my heart that I was going to marry her. And I told my father, I said, I believe I found my wife. And he asked me, are you sure? Have you prayed about this? And all the things. I said, yes, sir, I have. And uh, and so we were just moving forward, but I was moving forward in dating, but I would kind of made up in my mind that I think my search is over.
He'd find excuses to come over my house. He said he wanted to fix my stereo system.
Okay.
And he'd spend just so much time fixing it. I was like, wow, he's really into this. Okay. But it was really just an excuse for us to spend time.
Yes, men are intentional. Men are very intentional when they find the woman that they love, want to protect and provide for.
Yes.
I just wanted to let them know, because that's over 40 years. Wow.
And God worked some things out. I mean, we were in college, and I had already graduated and had started working at a CPA firm, and my wife was interning at a different CPA firm
Right.
in the same building.
Mm.
And so after work, we were always, we take the train home together, and and then spend time together at her house and stuff like that. And so God was just really kind of orchestrating the advancement of this relationship through just everyday practical, going to work, coming home, kind of things.
May I add that my mother would be in the next room listening, right? And so sometimes I'd hear something fall, like she knocked something over or something, and we'd know she was there, but she was just looking out for us too. So we weren't unchaperoned. In other words, we weren't in a position where the enemy could get the victory.
Amen. Have protection.
Yeah. I like how you say that you checked with your father,
Hmm.
Bishop, and how he made sure to ask you if you prayed about it and that sort of thing. And then your mom was there to, to make sure things stayed on the up and up,
Mhm.
which is so important because sometimes in this day and time, people have too much freedom and they give too much leeway to things that, may not be healthy for the relationship. So,
That's
yeah.
true. That's
Now,
true.
me and my wife, we talk about, we're real intentional about saying what love is in the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, I don't mean you had to have some ugly guy, but what drew you to this man of God? I mean, he's a good looking brother, but what
That
drew you
he
to
is.
him?
He was so responsible. He was so focused. He had goals. He wanted to do things in life. He was excited about the future. But most of all, he was devoted to God. He he lived the life before me. He wasn't trying to compromise, and he was consistently faithful at church, and he was involved in church. And sometimes he would, even if he worked late, he was going to be at church that next morning. Oh, another thing that I really was impressed with, Sunday night was his clean the kitchen night. So we would be on the phone and I could hear dishes. He was washing the dishes. His mother had chores for certain days. He wasn't griping about it. And he was a whole grown man. He had graduated college, but he was still living in that house. And as long as you lived in the house, you had chores. And that meant a lot to me. I watched how he treated his mother and his sisters. I studied that. He would take them places if they needed him to pick up something. And it meant a lot to me how he treated the other women in his life because I knew that would be how he would treat me.
Amen. Thank you. That character loss, when we all lose our hair and stuff, character will always stand.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
right,
Amen.
right, right.
Yeah.
Ooh, you want?
I like how you say that you studied him, you paid attention, and you observed the things, and that's one of the things that I noticed about my husband. Of course, we had a long distance relationship, but I would listen to him on the phone, and one thing, his sister and her children were living with him, and I was impressed by that he felt responsible for helping helping his sister out. And then I would listen to him. Sometimes I would talk to him while he was at work, and I listened how he treated his coworkers and how he talked to them. And so every now and then I tell him, like I told him then, I said, I like your style. And he was like, well, what does that mean? He asked me later. I said, I like how you treated other people. And so during our marriage, that's always been consistent about him. He's always thought about other people and how he could help them. And I realized that I like that because I'm intentional with helping people like that. So I knew that wasn't going to be a conflict.
Yeah, it's really good. Sometimes people, I call it evangelistic dating.
Mhm.
They date someone. I actually got that from Honey. They date someone and they see these poor qualities, but they say, "Oh, he won't be that way when I marry him.
Mm.
I'll change him. You
Mhm.
watch."
Mhm.
You know, dating is not the time for evangelism in that sense. Certainly, we introduce others to Christ, but whatever he's doing then, he's probably going to do later as well.
Exactly.
I'm amen. At the
Yeah.
35, don't date somebody with potential.
Right, right.
Give you potential to be in the poorhouse.
Yeah, right.
So, our next question, looking back at the beginning, because we have a lot of young folks out there, what was the adjustment that you had to make? Because two people become one, literally. So, what was your biggest adjustment to help out?
Well, I think when you marry someone and you're coming from two different worlds and you have two different practices and you have uh, men are different from women, so there's a lot of adjustments just and adjusting to just living in the house with someone else, and so you have to adapt and adjust to living arrangements, how they do things, what's important to them,
Right.
uh, and and learn how to adapt so that those two can become one, because you are different. Your hobbies are different, your interests are different, the way you spend money is different, and so you have to kind of work together to kind of take all those differences and allow them to become strengths,
Mm,
because I believe that God made us different because there are qualities and abilities and the way we process information that can be used to help each other. Men are very bottom line oriented. Women are processors of information, but we need both to really work together as one.
I had to learn I couldn't always have my way. I had to compromise. I was the youngest. I was the last one home, and my siblings are significantly older. There are a lot of years between us, so everybody was spoiling me. My mom, my dad, my siblings. It was just great. But when I came to the marriage, I couldn't always have my way. And that was really an adjustment. I also had to adjust to Honey was saying he's bottom line oriented, that men are, I want to go in a store, I'm going to go to every department. I'm going to touch and feel everything, all the things in the women's department. I'm going to check for sales, and I'm going to look at the very back of the rack. And he goes in the store. He's there 10 minutes. He knows what he wants. He goes in, he gets it, he walks out. I'm there an hour and 10 minutes, just trying to compromise. If we're going to go together, I can't spend the whole hour and 10, and he'll stay longer than just 10. So just the differences between us and respecting them and appreciating them.
Right.
Now we chuckle because whenever we would go shopping together, my husband would say, "Do you have to touch everything? Do you have to go up and down every aisle?"
I do. I have to cover the whole store.
Yeah.
yes, and for men, we already know that. It's like when we go to our in-laws' house. We know when we say it's time to go, it's going to be an hour later. So don't be getting upset. I know when I go shopping with my
Oh
wife,
gosh.
she's gonna walk around. So
Mhm.
I'll take my little book. I got my phone with me. So I'm not a. Go ahead, go and do what you got to
And,
do.
and most of the stores have a man chair.
Thank you.
There's a
Yes,
there's a
they
man
do.
chair in the
Thank
store.
goodness.
Okay. And so I just said, "Where's the man chair?" They point me to it. I sit
Mhm.
down, I have my phone, and if there's something my wife wants me to look at, try on, she'll come out and see me and say, "What do you think about this?" I say, "Hey,
Mhm.
cool."
Yeah.
But and so you learn how to work with all
Right.
with all of that. And
Right.
so and with me it's music and photography, and I mean, we've taken pictures all over all over the world, but I may see something, and
Right.
I stop the car, get out the car,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
take the picture, and
Uh-huh.
she'll patiently wait for me because she knows that photography is my
That's
thing,
his thing.
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you have to, being married, you have to develop an appreciation for uh, what your spouse likes, and develop it. Uh, when we were dating, I was a drummer, a church drummer, and so you don't only play it at your local church, but you play at all these concerts and musicals and things like this.
I was carrying drums.
Uh, we got bass drums on the back seat. We got all the stuff in the trunk, and then you got to set up and break down. And so after the
Right.
service is over, you got to sit there until all the stuff is broken down and help lug it all back to the
Right.
car.
And it was
Yeah.
just the little drums I was carrying,
Right.
just the little ones.
Mhm.
But it's a lot of stuff. But I mean,
Right.
develop an appreciation for
For it.
what makes me happy. That's
Yes.
where I get my
Yes.
joy. Okay.
It becomes a joy. I always, my wife likes to paint. I don't really like to paint and stay. It's kind of, watching dry paint. But I enjoy my time with her. It's not about the painting.
Right,
Right.
It's
right,
about
right.
spending time with the one that I love that makes me laugh and smile, my sweetie boo. So that's what you want. It,
Right.
it doesn't even become compromise. It's like I want to please that person. I
Right.
want to make them happy because when they're happy, I'm happy, and there's something about them, and that's what I always noticed in y'all. Your wife is just like a model wife. It's like she is so edifying of her husband, not the bishop, not the pastor,
Right.
My
her
husband.
husband,
Right.
and that permeates throughout. Even in my marriage, my wife having someone to look at and model after. It has nothing to do with age or anything. It's the
Right.
way. And for me as a man, I'm always going to tell this story about Bishop that changed my life. As
Okay.
a man, I was taught to trust no man and, don't bow to no man. I could follow, but there's certain things I wasn't going to do. And I had this dream and thing I thought what God had gave to me, and I'm like, "Ooh, I'm gonna take this to pastor and show him what I did." And I think I spent like a month put it in together. I was all happy and took that. I took it to pastor, and he was so kind. He said, "I like this." What we call that cookie method. He said he didn't tear me down. He said, "I like this, but I have a vision that is like this, but I would like to do this, and I think it would work better." He was so gracious. But me being from where I'm from, I went back home. I'm like, boo, I put all this work in here and I did this and I did that. And she said, "You're under his leadership and you accepted that." So I said, "Oh, you're so right. You know what I mean? You're so right." And it worked out, wonderful
Praise
and
God.
everything. But
God.
being under, and it's not being under, because that's really a bad, maybe not a good choice of words, um, servant leader.
Hmm.
So when you're under a servant leader, all of that hits different. That's how
Yeah.
you will know if you're in the right place,
That's
if
right.
you're under a servant leader.
Hi, this is Bishop Kevin Dickerson. I'm the pastor of Dayspring Family Church. We're conveniently located at 618 North Beltline Road in Irving, Texas. Our service times are 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. on Sundays, and then midweek Bible study is at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. We have a full slate of programming for children, youth, young adults, and married couples. And now back to the programming.
I was going to talk about submission.
Mm-hmm.
Submission, whether it is in your congregation, as submitting to a pastor, or within a marriage, there's submission. It simply means that we are determining what the mission will be, and whatever that mission is, I'm going to submit to it, and we work together on that mission.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the mission will come from the husband, and sometimes God will reveal it to the wife. But we come together in agreement and we work together on that one mission, and we're not pulling against one another. So wherever God shows the mission, that's what we work toward.
It's
Mm-hmm.
coming under the same mission.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so it's uniting under that one cause.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, be it, you know, um, cleaning the house. We're going to clean the house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or pick up the clothes out the cleaners. Okay. She may say, pick my clothes up out the cleaners. I say, yes. We're now under one mission. The mission is get the clothes out the cleaners.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's learning how to not get caught up in who's in charge so much
Right.
as
Right.
opposed is to becoming one, because
Yes.
marriage is all about oneness.
Right.
Yes.
When we counsel couples, all the lessons that we share are about becoming one, becoming one in the relationship, becoming one in how to understand each other and communicating, becoming one in managing your finances, becoming one romantically. It's all about becoming one and recognizing that we got one mission, and that's to be a great example of what a husband and wife should be.
And the question that I have in my mind, speaking of mission, I would like to know, how do you balance your mission of ministry with your family life versus, leading a church and handling all the things that go with it? How do you work that balance out?
Um, I have a plaque on my wall in my office at the church, and it says, "My family is my number one ministry."
Mm-hmm.
And what that speaks to is not only importance, but also priority.
Right.
Um, our children are now grown and married, except one, and they have children of their own.
Mm-hmm.
But growing up, they knew that even though we were pastors, they knew that they were number one. So we never missed uh, a soccer game, a football game, a science fair, parent teacher conference, recital. Even when my son was playing college football, we went to every game, home and away,
All over the country.
all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there was no late flight to get back to church on Sunday.
Right.
That means somebody else is preaching on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
but we're ministering to our family.
And we rehearsed our priorities, God in our heart, then each other, then the children, then the
The
church.
church was fourth.
The church was
The
fourth.
church still is fourth.
Now
Mm-hmm.
God was number one
God is
in our
always
hearts.
first.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But then it was God, it was each other, it was the children, and then it was the church. Therefore, your children won't grow up hating church, feeling like you were pulled away from them. And we allocated our time based upon those priorities.
Absolutely. And your children grow up uh, appreciating that,
Mm-hmm.
especially now that they're married and are parents themselves, and they recognize that they weren't cheated out of a childhood
Right.
by our work schedules
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And now they're parents and they're emulating
Right.
the way that they were raised.
Right.
And so we listen to our children. Oh, we're going to the parent teacher conference, da 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 da. Or we're taking our kids on vacation,
Mm-hmm.
or we're playing a game, or
Mm-hmm.
we're building what's Kevin? They build a little fort, out of bed sheets.
How you stretch the sheets in
Right,
front of the couch.
and so now they're going camping inside the house. Well,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff that they got, they think is an original idea. Okay,
Yes.
We did that.
we did that.
Yeah.
But and it brings us joy to
Yes.
see that the way that we raised our children,
Mm-hmm.
they benefited from number one, but then number two, they're repeating it.
Amen. That's
Yeah.
my greatest joy when they say, "Oh, I sound like you, Daddy."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the greatest
That's
joy.
good.
Boy, and get
That's
back.
really good.
Yeah, you do.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to, as they say, stick a pin in something that Pastor Sonia said, which was rehearsal. See, we're big about telling people before you go talk to your husband or anything, you rehearse. You clean your heart. You pray with God, and you rehearse so you can get it right instead of going there with emotions. So I really like that rehearsal,
It's so important.
prepared.
It is so important. And then also that means you won't forget to say anything that needs to be said.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Amen to that.
I'm Pastor Sonia Dickerson, and it has been such a joy being here on this podcast. I invite you to pray with me every Friday morning at 6 a.m. Central Daylight Time at Pastor Sonia on Facebook or Pastor Sonia Dickerson on YouTube. Also follow us, outpouringwomensconference.org, for a series of conferences and things that will add value to your life. So great being here. Now back to the podcast.
So, I'd like to know if you all have any favorite memories with each other, either at home or just the two of you together, or at church, or it could be all
The
three. But
first time he saw her, boo.
what's your?
That's
Oh, okay, that was his favorite memory. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Across the
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, okay. All right. So, yes, the first time I saw him, he had a major afro
I saw that picture.
out to his shoulders, and when he walked, it bounced. It was very well conditioned. He had the
Mm.
blowout comb,
Oh, stop,
all
stop,
the
stop.
things. It was like I was like, "Woo, who is that?" It was great, and then he got a serious job at the CPA firm, and he cut it lower. But that was one of my favorite memories. And
Okay.
then a family memory was every year we'd take the children to San Antonio and we'd make SeaWorld sound like Hawaii or somewhere, I don't know.
Hmm.
And just like a big deal. What they didn't know was that was all we could afford. We had to drive. I would go to Denny's restaurants. They would have little coupon booklets in the corner in a stand in the lobby, and I'd get the coupons for 29.95 a night hotel rooms. And we would
With
we
free
would
breakfast.
with free
With free
breakfast. That
break,
was a
that's important.
criteria, right? Then I'd look for coupons for the admission to SeaWorld, but all year we would save our change. Any change we had, we'd throw it in a drawer.
Hmm.
And when vacation came, that was how we had admission money to the park, as well as that's how we ate, that's how we paid the gas. And it was the sweetest time.
And we went every year.
Right.
So
Okay.
as soon as you get into the park, they have the photographer that takes your picture.
Hmm.
Well, if you come to our house right now, you can see how our children grew by
Okay.
the SeaWorld pictures,
Hmm. Hmm.
because we were going. It was an annual event, and we laugh about it now, but it was just a wonderful time, and it's taking what you have and making what you want out of it,
Hmm.
and and we didn't buy our children a lot of things, but
Hmm.
we gave them a lot of memories.
Hmm.
And so we now, when we counsel couples or when we're preaching, we say, take your children places. I mean, it can be to the museum here in town or wherever. But what you're doing is making memories. And so now our children are grown and they're on their own. And when we get together, they don't talk about the latest gizmo or gadget we bought,
Hmm.
but they talk about these memories of the places we went or the things we did, or uh, things that happened on vacation. You know, we got one daughter; she loses a shoe everywhere we went.
Every year. But we found out recently, and she's a whole grown up now. We found out recently her older brother and sister were taking the shoe and throwing it away. So,
Oh.
yeah.
I really appreciate that,
Yeah.
and I want to bring that to men. Thank God you never had to go through this, but I've been through divorce,
Hmm.
and sometimes when men get divorced, they're paying child support, and they don't have the extra money, and they feel guilty. Believe it or not, they feel very guilty. But just like you, my grandmother said, memories. She would ask me, "What do you remember the most?" And I would say, "I remember sitting on the porch looking at the stars, thinking that's where people passed. They would become a star, sitting with my grandfather."
Hmm.
I don't remember, I only remember one toy, Billy Blackstar. But, but I remember the times they touched me, hugged me,
Right.
spoke into my life. So I want y'all to really get that. And parents, it's not the money, it's the memories and the time. Thank you, Bishop.
And if I can even add to that, it's the conversations,
Mhm.
conversations with your children, and just loving on them, telling them that they can be whatever uh, they want to be, and letting them know that the door is always open, that they can come to you for advice. Our children are grown, but anytime they need something or have a question about something, they know all they have to do is pick up the phone, pick up a text, and say, "Hey, you free? Let's talk." And it's a blessing. Um, and so we just enjoy, just watching our children grow up and then watching them come back to us and share.
And I
Amen.
just want to say too, it's kind of like with you guys, for us, we know we can always come to you. You always support us. You invite us to. We're part of your Vision Fellowship of Churches, where we feel like our ministry is connected to yours,
Amen.
and we feel like you're parents for us in a sense, and so
Told you I was young.
we don't. So we don't hesitate to call on you because of the availability you've given us, and you just don't get that with a lot of people who are in leadership.
Yes.
So it causes us to want to model that as well in our ministry.
And one of the techniques that we use and that we give to other people, I know y'all don't know this, but one of the techniques we teach people is to touch. She touches her husband in such a sweet, calming way. You know, we don't always know what the touch is for, like my wife kicking me underneath the table, but that touch is so important in marriages, and they model that probably without even knowing that.
Hmm.
That is just so we teach people try touching, not say anything, just touch and look at each other, and they model that with ease, with ease. So
I
thank y'all for
remember
that.
Pastor Dickerson, Sonia, the first time my husband met you, he asked me later. He said, "Is she always that bubbly?" I mean, that's how I said, "That's how she is for real. She's not faking." I said,
Yes.
"Just watch her. She's gonna grab your hand, and you're gonna be walking fast with her, cause she's taking you to meet somebody else, and then she's speaking all to everybody." I said, "That's just who she
Yeah.
is." He was like, "Wow."
I just consider it such a privilege to interact with people.
Hmm.
And then I I love to touch him.
Hmm.
I hug him on the way in the pulpit. We kiss in the pulpit. People used to tease us about it. I think they're so accustomed to it now. But my marriage is first, and how can I minister to others if things aren't right between
Right.
us?
Hmm.
Early in ministry, I remember us calling. We were having we'll call it an intense fellowship before church time. And we would call and say, "You all keep singing until we get there. We have some things we have to take care of. We have to talk through. We're not going to get up and go before God's people and things not right between us."
Amen. Thank you for that.
So speaking about intensity, family came first. You,
Right.
and
Hmm.
you and her, and you knew how to speak because we were doing a thing on Abigail,
Hmm.
and I just know from watching you that you know how to speak into a king and
Okay.
call things as they're not. So what is some of the things that y'all learn? Like we learned to edify each other. My wife, matter how I'm acting, will speak to the man in me, not into the whatever I'm doing.
Mhm.
She'll speak to the man in me. Oh, man of God would talk like that with a man of God. So,
No, and I'll say, "Okay, Pastor Jones."
yes. So you can't get mad. You just start laughing and say, okay, I got you. So how do y'all speak into each other like that?
I think it starts with just number one, loving each other,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and that love is genuine, and then it's coupled with respect. And
Right,
so, and
right.
because I love her
Yeah.
and I respect her, how I approach her, no matter how I'm feeling, what's going on, I'm still going to do it in love, and I'm still going to do it with respect. Uh, because I think if you don't, whatever challenges you're facing, all you're going to end up doing is exacerbating the problem,
Yeah.
because you've allowed your emotions to weigh heavier than your love for the person. You've allowed your emotions or the issue that's confronting you to weigh heavier than the respect you have for the person, and that should never be the case. And so, even when there's a challenge or disagreement, um, your love for my love for her and my respect of her doesn't waver. And so we can talk about things as civil adults, and it not, a lot of times when people disagree, it becomes personal, and the person is the person you love and you respect. So it should never get personal. We should address, you have to separate the person from the problem.
Amen.
And then if you're able to do that, you can address the problem and continue loving and respecting the person.
Person.
Yeah, we know we tell people that I technique where I feel like this, so I'm not attacking the person's character
Right.
when I say I, and it's so, and I say we. You know, we was talking about when we don't pay a bill instead of saying, well, you didn't pay the bill.
Right.
You know, it changes the
Right.
thing, and the dynamics is saying, you know, I'm a real component of having a nickname for your significant other. You know, to remind you as you think if. I'm not going to ask y'all if y'all have any nicknames. 'Cause
We do. Honey, sweetheart, baby,
See?
Yeah.
love,
Yeah.
all the things. It is so important that you are careful how you speak to your spouse. I speak to him with great respect, and there's certain I keep a certain tone of voice. I don't, it's so important
Mm.
because I respect him. And then we don't go historical or hysterical on each other.
Wow, well, I like that. Say that again.
We don't go historical or hysterical. So not hysterical, just going nuts on him, but also not historical. If we're dealing with an issue, then that's the issue we deal with. We don't bring up because 10 years ago you did blah blah blah. That's not what we do.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lana Jones, and I'm just here to talk to you about my very first book called Calling All Marriages. I believe God is calling all marriages to admonish Him and to lift Him up. You can find a copy of that book on Amazon, and I really appreciate your taking time out to look it up on Amazon and make a purchase if you would like to. And thanking God for this endeavor to write this new book. And now back to the program.
I think the other thing is you speak words to build up, not words to tear down. It's easy. It takes no skill to tear something down. When we're doing premarital counseling, I share with them that the old Texas Stadium where the Cowboys played,
Yeah.
they imploded the music. They imploded the stadium, and it took 30 seconds
Yeah.
for the whole 66,000 seat stadium to become a pile of rubble. I said, it takes no time to ruin a good dinner by some words that we say,
Yeah.
or to burst a bubble in someone's dream by the words that we say.
Because your words can really hurt me
Words
more
carry,
than
Yes,
they
anyone
carry
else.
weight.
Right.
You know, and the thing about that is that the Cowboys are not homeless. You know, they've got a new stadium, and but it didn't take 30 seconds to rebuild it.
So
It
true.
it took 2 years to rebuild it. So even when we apologize, because of what we said, your spouse remembers, and it's going to take some time for that trust to be rebuilt, and then for them to stop questioning themselves. Is that what they really meant, or is that how they really feel about me? And so we have to kind of watch our words, even when things are difficult, because you don't want to tear down the person, because it does so much damage, and it takes so much time to try and rebuild that relationship.
Amen. That's why we talk about paraphrasing when someone says something you think that hurts you, and know that, hey, I love them. Maybe it's not what they said, so let me give them a chance. Let me give them grace
That's
and
good.
say, not what you exactly heard what they said, but what you feel.
That's good.
Because I'm not even gonna tell that story again. I'll tell that because it's new to y'all, and maybe somebody new out there. For 13 months in our marriage, I used to say, "You ought to know better. You ought to know better, boo." And for my wife, that meant I was telling her I was leaving. For me, it meant don't do it again. But it was hurting her slowly. destroying our trust, building up contentment, until she came to me and communicated and say, "This is what I hear when you say that," and it made a great difference in our lives. So try to give people that grace. And men, you know what I always tell y'all: do not say the first or second thing that you think. And we're winding down. You said 5 minutes. I said we're in the 5 minutes. Okay, we're gonna let Bishop and them impart some wisdom on us before we leave. We want you to know I believe in giving my flowers and my love, and people will know me as a man. One of the things I try to break is that stereotype is that we don't have feelings, because we do. Is always telling another man or God that I love you and I appreciate you. And I'm still 6'2". Anyway, we just wanted y'all to know that.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you so much for visiting with us today and imparting your wisdom, and we certainly appreciate the role models that you all have been to
Amen.
us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a joy to be here. And, I just leave with saying, be quick to say, I'm sorry. Apologize. Um, give grace. Give the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes people are just having a rough day, or a reaction to something, whatever. But make sure that you get things right. Don't let it fester. And there will be challenges, no matter how long you're married, but you can overcome them all. And it gets sweeter. I mean, literally,
Mm,
I sincerely am experiencing this. It gets sweeter and sweeter as the years go by, because there's so much understanding.
amen.
I would say that no, first of all, thank you so much for having us. It's been our joy to be here, and we've truly enjoyed this opportunity just to share. And in 43 years of marriage, I think the things that are bedrock to a marriage, number one is your relationship with God, your personal relationship with God. And then you bring that and you join your relationship with God with your spouse, and so that you're one in your walk with God, and it helps you navigate all the stuff that's going to happen in life. We're not exempt from trials, tribulations, major illnesses, children problems. We're not exempt from any of that. But what your walk with God does is it helps you navigate through all the challenges that are going to happen
Yeah.
in every marriage. And then you work through any challenges. You're quick to say I'm sorry and mean it. Um, and when you say I'm sorry, what you're saying is not okay, I'm sorry, but what you're saying is I'm so sorry that I'm not going to hurt you in that way again. And that's what's really meaningful. And then I'd say don't take yourself so seriously.
Yes.
Learn to laugh.
Laugh. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got a picture in our scrapbook about the early days of marriage, and it's my wife frying hot dogs, and
That's,
and
that
and,
was my best meal at the
and
time.
no, but
At the time.
it lets you know that this is how far God has brought this marriage.
Right.
You know, we eat hot dogs by choice now. Okay, that was a staple back
Right.
then, and but
That's right.
doesn't take yourself so seriously. Learn to laugh, and just enjoy the journey, and it's beautiful.
Amen.
Amen. So, calling all marriages, I hope that this was a blessing for each and every one of y'all out there that I like that new name. That's my wife, her book, and she done came with it, calling all
It's
marriages.
nice.
Okay.
That's what
Really
God
great.
gave me.
That's what the Lord gave you.
That's what God gave me.
Amen.
That's what
Amen
He's
to that.
calling for today, is that we yield our marriages to Him.
So as
Amen.
we leave here, as we always say,
Let's communicate
and
and
talk
talk later.
later. God bless each and every one of y'all. Have a great day on purpose.